What's up, Wayne Barron here with DarkFX.net, and once again we are inside of Microsoft Visual Studio 2010. And what we're going to be doing in this lesson here is that we're going to be creating an upload script so that we can upload files to a server. And we're going to make it so that we can upload the files to a folder with a given username. So whoever's logged into the site is going to upload their file into their own folder on the hard drive. Also, it is going to insert the information for the file into the database. It's going to insert the file name. Also, going to insert the size of the file in bytes. So, alright, also we're going to be doing this for Access and SQL Server. So first we're going to do this for Access Database, and then I'm going to turn around and change the code so that we can insert it into SQL Server Database as well. So let's go ahead and get started. Come over here and choose File, New Website, and we want to choose an empty website. Come up here and we want to choose Web Form. Okay, and the first thing that we want to do here is, let's go ahead and add in our items. So we need a file upload and a button, and then let's come down. Let's add that up here. Okay, then let's add a break, and then we want to add in two labels. We want the first label here, and then we want our second label to be here. Okay, so it should look something like this. So now we're going to rename label number 2. It's going to be renamed to LBL text 1, and the top one is going to be LBL info. Our file upload component is going to be renamed to fill my file. And then over here for our button, we're going to name our button. It's going to be named send, and also change the text to send as well. So it should look like this right here. You got to browse and you got to send. Also, let's come over here and let's do visible equals false, and then we want to change this to the file was stored. Okay, now let's come over and go inside of our default. Well, let's go up here first and name file upload dot web form. Okay, and save that one. Okay, it's automatically going to give us this line up underneath there. So let's come over here to our default.asp.vb, and let's come up here to the top, and we want to do namespace file upload, and we're going to break down. Let's grab a hold of this and add it to the end there, and then change this to web form. Save that, come back, and now our squiggly line is gone. Okay, so this right here, whenever it's run, it's basically not going to do anything, but you can do this just to make sure that we don't have no errors on our page so far, and we don't. So if we come over here and we just grab a hold of a file, it's going to put our file name right here, and this is the information that we need to grab a hold of and send to our processing page. So whenever we click on send, it's not really going to do anything. Even though it did change it there, it's not changing any other information. So now let's come down, debug, stop debugging. Okay, next thing we want to do is double click on our browse button. That's going to bring us here. So what we want to do here is a lot of typing. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do here is type in protected overrides sub ONINIT, and I hate it whenever it does that. I like using Visual Studio, but sometimes whenever it fills out the stuff for you, it's really annoying. Okay, there we go. That's better. And so now let's come here and type in initialize component. Okay, and let's see here. The next thing, this right here will go away in a little while. So let's, we got one too many n subs here. Let's go back, and now let's come down, and let's go ahead and get rid of that squiggly line. So it's private sub initialize component. Okay, and that got rid of that. Add handler, and now we want to type in me dot load, and then add a comma, new system dot event handler, and type in address of me dot page load. Let's change that to underscore page load. Come down, add handler, me dot send, dot click, comma, new system dot event handler, and then address me dot send click. Okay, so let's jump back up here. So now we're going to start out with a protection override, and then we come down here and initialize the component, which is this right here. And now let's jump down and let's do private sub page load by value sender as object by val e as system dot event args. Okay, change that to by val. There it goes. Okay, now let's type in the following: if request dot query string file ID is not nothing, then end if. Okay, go ahead and save our work. Come down to this area, and now we want to process click on our send button. So now let's type in the following: private sub send click by val sender as object, comma, by val e as system dot event args. Come down, and we want to check to see if file was uploaded. Then come down, if fill my file dot posted file is not nothing, then now we want to get a reference to the posted file object. So now let's come down and want to type in dim my file as HTTP, and we want HTTP posted file equals fill my file dot posted file. Okay. Come down, and now we want to get the size of uploaded file. So then we type in dim in file len as integer equals my file dot content length. And then we want to type in, make sure the size of the file is greater than 0. And how we do that is that we type in if in file len is greater than 0, then we want to allocate a buffer for reading of the file. And now we're going to type in dim my data as byte equals new byte, and then we're going to type in file len equals 1, and then we are going to come over here and read the uploaded file to stream. We're going to type in my file dot input stream dot read my data comma 0 comma in file len. Okay, now we want to get the logged in user, and so we're going to come down here, get logged in user, and then we're going to do dim string cs, just like we did yesterday, as string equals username. Okay, now you can easily add in your cookie here from our cookie lesson, and so that whoever is logged in at that time, it's going to read from the cookie, and it's going to grab a hold of their username to be used in here as a string CS. And so let's go down to the next one. We want to create a folder for the logged in user. And how we're going to do that is going to type in dim get un as string equals backslash plus string cs. Okay, so that's going to get our username. It's going to put in a backslash, which is going to go inside of our folder that we're getting ready to create here in a few minutes. And then it's going to grab a hold of the user name that is logged in. Add in a underscore between the username and the file name. So we're going to do that by typing in dim string file name as string, oops, sorry, wrong part. Let's try this again. Dim get logged user as string equals string cs plus underscore. Okay, So this way it's going to grab a hold of our username. It's going to put in an underscore right before the file name. So it'd be like this right here. Username underscore file name dot zip. So that's basically what it's going to do. So now let's come down here and we are going to get the file name. And so it's going to be dim string file name as string equals path dot, whoops, it doesn't want to choose our path. And so we need to come up here and we need to add something in order to enable us to choose our path. And so what we need to do is come up here and type in the following: imports system.io. Okay, so now whenever we come down here, goes equal path, and you see it gives us our path. And so now the next thing we want to do here, dot get file name, my file dot file name. Okay, so that right there is going to grab a hold of our file name. And now the next thing we want to do here is that we want to make our files unique. So let's say hypothetically that a single username was to upload 5 files, and every one of the files that they upload is given the same name, file name.zip. And so they upload 5 files. All 5 files are named file name.zip. Instead of it having username underscore file name.zip, we want to make it so that it's username underscore with a date or a time and then file name.zip. So add in unique numbers as time to our file names. And so we're going to do this by dim get time as string equals now dot to string, and then we're going to do HH, copy this, and then plus plus SS. So that's going to give us our hours, our minutes, and our seconds. And it's going to put them together. It's not going to add nothing between them. It's just going to add them together. And so let's just say it is 450 and whatever the seconds is. Let's just say it's going to put in 450.05. Okay, so now let's come down. So it's basically going to look like this right here. Username underscore 450.05 underscore file name. Oops, I'm sorry. File name dot zip. That way, words are not coming out right today. That way, if a user, like I said up here, if a user types in or uploads 5 files that have the identical name, each one of them is going to get a different file name. And that way, nothing tries to overwrite or no type of errors are given during the upload process. And so now the next thing that we want to do here is we need to clear any unwanted spaces within our file name. And so how we do that is that we do a dim clear as string equals string file name dot replace. Okay, this way it's going to take anything that has a space in it, and it's going to collapse it and it's going to get rid of the space. So now create the string that holds all the information from above. And we're going to do dim get file as string equals get logged user plus get time plus clear. Okay, so we're going to come up here, we're going to grab this information right here, plus we're going to grab a hold of this information here, and then we're going to clear everything right before anything is saved. So then we're going to save the page or save the file. So we're going to do dim save path as string equals. Okay, so now we want to create the folder on the drive if it does not exist for the files and then for the username that is logged in. So how we're going to do that is going to do save path equals context dot server dot map path. This is our main folder plus get username. Okay, so as you can see right here, it's going to add our files, which is our main folder, / string cs, which is our get username. So it's going to create this folder, and then it's going to add a / and then string cs, which is the get username. Okay, and now the next thing that we want to do is if not directory dot exist, save path, then directory dot create directory save path. Okay, so now that we've got all that information in, let's go ahead and jump down here, and we want to do file my file dot posted file dot save as, and then save path and / close it plus get file and then close. So the next part is that we want to store the information into the database. So the information that we want to store into the database is our dim in file ID as integer equals write to DB. Let's make that write to DB. Okay, and now type in string file name my file dot content type. Oh, some birds are getting mad out there, don't it? My data. Okay, that's going to give an error, but we're not going to worry about that right now. And so the next thing we want to do here is set our labels text so the user will know what the progress is. Okay, so now we're going to do label info dot text equals file name colon, quote, and string file name, and I'm going to add in a break. Told you, this project right here takes a little while. Let's come over here and then do and in file len to string. Sound like some birds are getting their butts whooped out yonder, don't it? Okay, now we want to set URL of the object to point to the file we've just saved. So we're going to do that by doing label text 1 dot text equals get file. Then we're going to do label text 1 dot BISIBLE equals true. So that right there is going to end the first part. Okay, quite a bit of code, huh? But we've got this error right here, which is basically error correction options, whatever that means. So anyway, we need to get rid of this error. So let's come down here, and then we got to create two private. One is a private sub, and the other one is a private function. So let's go private sub, and this one right here is going to be write to file. It's going to be by val string path as string by reference buffer as byte. Okay, now let's create a file. So it's going to be dim new file as new file string path file mode dot create. We're going to write data to the file, and that is going to be new file dot write buffer 0 and then buffer dot length, and then we want to close file. So new file dot close. Okay, now let's do our private function, and it is going to be write to DB. So this is going to get rid of the error above, string name as string, and then by val string type as string, and then by reference buffer as byte. Okay, we need to come over here to the end and write in as integer, and so that right there gets rid of that little error that we had right there. And so now let's get on with some more writing. Also, let's add in a little note here so that we know what we're doing. This is going to write the file information to the database. Okay, let's go ahead and start writing stuff to our database here. First thing we want to do is do a dim in file ID as integer equals 0, and then do dim string cs as string, and then equals username. As I stated before, you can change this right here. This right here just for testing, just for the lesson, but this right here can be changed to the cookie or the session, or however you're tracking your logged in user. I use a cookie that lasts for 30 minutes, and so, but anyway, let's go ahead and jump down to the next one. Is a dim get un as string equals string cs, and then let's do dim get logged user as string equals get un plus, and this is basically the same thing that we wrote above, dim get time as string equals, and let's just come up here and copy this right here so that we don't have to worry about having to type all that in again. And then the same thing with this. So yeah, copy and pasting does help out a lot. And this is going to be string name, so let's get rid of this, and that's all that needs to be changed there. Okay, so now let's come down. We want to go dim id as integer equals request.form, and this is going to be id, and then do dim art id as integer equals request.form art id, and then come here and let's go ahead and do our database work. So dim this information right here, you can grab this from your either Access or SQL Server, depending on which lesson that we're doing here for you. So we're going to go here and we're going to grab a hold of the Access. So let's go ahead and down here, but we don't need all that, we just want this. So we paste that there, and then also we need to grab a hold of our import and paste that there. And so now the only thing that we need to do is change this information. Now we need a new table inside of our database, and so we're going to go ahead and do the access one first. So come over here on create table, right click and choose design view, and this is going to be named files. So the following information is what we want to type in. So we need file ID, and that's an auto number, and then the next one is UID, and this is a number, and then file name, that's going to be short text, and then actually we're going to change that to long text. Okay, so because you never know how far you're going to go over. You don't want somebody to upload an extremely long file name and then your script adds in more information. So let's say that somebody uploads a file that's 250 characters, and then you go in and your script adds in the username, the underscore, and then adds in the hour, the minute, and the seconds, along with the file name plus the extension. You're going to go over. So adding this in as a long text, you'll be able to handle all that information. So then we do file size, and this is going to be a number. And then the last but not least is art ID, and that is also going to be a number. So then we save that. Let's go ahead and close out of that. And so we come over here and we type in insert into files, and we want to do our UID, our file name, and our file size, and our art ID. Values are going to be 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. So then we're going to come down here. We're going to get rid of that and that. So 2, 3, and 4. So now the first thing we want to do is user ID. Next one is file name, file size, and art ID. So then we come over here, and our art ID is art ID. This is going to be our file size. Is going to be buffer dot length, and then our file name is going to be get file, and then our user ID is going to be ID. So that should take care of all of that. And so as long as it is successful, it should insert it. And then we come down here and we need to add in a return in file ID, and that gets rid of our lineup underneath our function. We save, and now let's go ahead and debug it, and let's see if it'll work. And so what we're wanting to watch out for is we're going into website 12. So let's come over here and grab a hold of this, and supposedly we're in website 12, so let's paste that there. And so we should, if all things go right, create a folder called files, and then inside that folder it should be the name of the username. And so now let's come over here, choose a file. Let's go, we'll just choose this image right here, and let's send it. And there we go. We got our file, we got our username, and then we've got our file inserted there. We should also have, it's not going to have it here, so let's go ahead and close that one. Then we come over here to our folder here, open up our users database, and then open up our files, and there we go. So we've got our file name and our file size there, but our user ID was not passed. Okay, the reason why user ID was not passed and is the following. So we need to do art ID equals 1 and ID equals 1. And so we've got to be able to grab a hold of the user ID and the file name. So let's come over here, and we're going to type in the following. We want dim get ID get art ID as integer, and then type in ID equals request dot query string, and that's going to be ID. And then let's get rid of that. I just wanted the ID, not all of that information. And then we want art ID equals same thing here, and so we're going to change this to art ID. And so Okay. And now let's come down, and it's probably the reason why it messed up on me. And now we are going to grab a hold of two input fields. So we need an input type equals hidden, and the name equals, and the value equals. So we need this twice. First one is going to be art ID, second one is going to be ID, and then I want to copy this, paste it down here, and get ID goes there, and get art ID goes there. So now save that, and then come over here, and we should be able to get our data sent to our database. Number 1 and 1. So, okay, that right there ends the Access database. So now what we need to do is come over here and just change up a few information to make this work with SQL Server. Okay, now we're going to be doing the SQL Server part of this lesson, and so let's go ahead and take our window. I'm going to drag it over to the left and take this right here is my SQL Server code. So what we're going to do is that we're just going to replace what needs to be replaced within our Access code. So let's drag this over just a little bit so we can have it opened up decently. Okay, so the first thing we want to do here is make sure that everything that is not needed doesn't get dragged over here. So our dim obj connection for nothing, so that's not needed, and that one's not needed. And then we need our dim strings, so we need this area right here copied over, and so that is going to take over this right here. It'll take over this entire area right here. So let's go ahead and just replace all of that. Let's drop down. Okay, and so the next thing that we want to do is grab a hold of this line of code, and that's basically it. The only other thing that we need is this. And then that right there should run also to close it out. Okay, and make sure there's no errors anywhere. We save that. Now next thing we need to do is we need to create our database table. So let's right click on our table here and go to, right click on our table and go to new table. And now we need to type in the following. File ID is an integer, and it's not going to allow nulls. We're going to come down here to our identifier, change this to yes, and it's going to be named files. And so the next thing that we're going to do is we need a user ID. It is also an integer. Come down, file name, that's a var character, and we're going to do this as 350. That way it's got enough characters to allow the longest string. So do file size, that's an integer, no nulls, and then art ID is an integer and no nulls. Right click on our file ID here and set as primary key, save it, and now we should be able to run the same page. Choose, let's go ahead and choose this file here, and let's choose send, and that sent it. So now we come over here, we open up our files, and we've got a user ID, we've got our first frame, and then we've got our file size and our art ID. Alright, well that should cover it for our file uploads, and the next lesson that I will be doing, the next major lesson I will be doing the Uploadify, which will allow you to upload multiple images at one time, maintain its file size, create thumbnails, and have the thumbnails actual as smaller images and so forth, and also putting them inside of folders that they need to be in. So got a lot coming up, so y'all continue to watch and subscribe, and hopefully y'all will learn something from these lessons. This is Wayne Barron from darkeffects.net. Y'all have a rocking rest of the weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mommies out yonder and all of the daddies out there that have to be the mamas. So y'all take a good one and have a great day. Bye bye.